another point that it's slightly changing the subject, but about not having enough money for things. I think one thing that I have thought in the past, as a rider, we're always so desperate for that horse that is just unbelievable, it's going to win everything, or we hope it's going to win everything. And there are horses that come along that don't, we feel that they're going to be the next best thing, but the owner maybe can't really afford to have it with a professional rider at the rates that you charge, which in the end, if you choose as a rider to take that horse on and basically not pay yourself to ride it, that is fine, because you are the one that is saying, okay, I'm not being paid to ride it, but you still have to charge enough that the horse is done properly. It doesn't affect how your other horses are done, that you end up having to skimp a bit on the bedding or the hay or whatever because you've taken in one on the cheap, and also that the staff can still get paid, because it's very easy to do people deals to try and get these horses, but I think you do have to make sure that that's only affecting you, not everybody else, either the other horses or your staff.
Completely, because you speak to most people, there's no livery yards anymore.
No.
And this is the thing when you go to Europe. Like I have a lot of friends in Germany, and they're all horsey. There's a physio out and who actually had to come to England to get the qualifications that she wanted, because there wasn't the courses that she wanted in Germany. They have. And it's funny because I realised this when I was out in Germany working for a German rider. Every German rider, every German groom, they all talk to each other, they all integrate with each other. Over here, you work for one person, If you don't, I talk to everyone and anyone. I have no problems with getting on with people. I can be a bit shy, but we're all in the same boat, we're all doing the same thing. But they have a livery, they have what they call riding clubs, and they have indoor schools, they have outdoor schools, because for some odd reason it seems to be so much easier to put an indoor school out in Europe than what it is in England.
Because it's part of agriculture.
And then when you actually, they have a basic of hay, bedding, turnout, and food, basic, not great food, but not every horse needs to be fed the best. They can have a skip of oats, they can have a skip of barley, they can have a bit of alpha, it doesn't matter. But they have a basic, and that is their riding school, and then they have a trainer that is based there, and if you get on with that trainer, great. There are places where no one else is allowed to come in and teach, but that's with most yards, which I think is a bit sad, really, because I think everyone should be able to improve themselves, and if that means that they have someone else to come in and teach them, then okay, if you have to pay a little bit more for that person to come and teach you, great. But there's a community. We don't have that here.
I've tried horses in Germany in these, the communal riding arenas, that are, yards where, I've been trying a 4-year-old in a massive indoor arena with 20 other horses, because that's where, that is the local indoor arena, and people turn up with their trailers and their horses, and they all come and ride there, and everyone rides together, and it is a much more social way of doing horses, I think, out there. But it is, they do things differently to here, but it's Georgie's got distracted because she's now found a little dog.
Sorry, they are a nuisance.
No, she's fine.
It's like the little dog club, isn't it? It's like,
but they do. It is. There is a community. There's a basic. There is that is what they charge, and if you want more for that horse, then that's your choice to provide it. And as you've turned around and said, and actually a couple of other people that haven't come from money, that have had to work their way up, the yard doesn't pay.
No.
It's going off and teaching, and You know, and that is
But, you know, the thing is, though, it shouldn't have to be like that.
Oh,
That's
God,
the thing.
no.
And it's very hard. I mean, I think as a young rider, when you're trying to make a name and you're trying to get a reputation, it's really hard to make a living out of this sport. But I think, you know, if you are a rider, you know, you may coach as well, but if you are a rider, you need to be able to charge enough that you can do it full time. And of course, I mean, I've never been in that position, you know. I mean, I've either done it full time, but I've done all the work as well. I mean, I've had times in my life where I used to muck out, you know, I mean, myself and an ex-partner of mine, I mean, we had, you know, maybe 14 horses, but we would do all the mucking out ourselves. I would do majority of the riding. We'd do everything, you know, the groom work and the riding work all together. So we did do that all of the time, but we didn't, you know, and we earned a living of sorts out of it, but we weren't paying any staff. But you can't sustain doing that, you know.
Oh God, no.
But equally, the minute you then start getting the staff is the problem. Then you've got to have a way of supplementing it, because, you know, unfortunately, I think a lot of people don't you know, don't charge enough to be able to make it a viable business. But I think it's where, you know, I think all equestrians are a bit guilty of being, you know, we play ponies, we're not business people, you know, but you have to learn how to be a business person. You have to learn what you need to do.
But then it's always going back to that thing of charging enough. It's like people charge different prices, which is fine, yet again, on experience and knowledge and things like that. But then also the riders, the clients, like the people that are learning, the people that go, they have actually got to realise that you're charging for that person's knowledge, not because they're £100 an hour for 45 minutes. They're £100 for that 45 minutes because they know what they're doing.
Their knowledge,
Don't go, oh, I haven't got that type of money. Then rock up in a brand new Bloomsfield or a Cefx or a little lorry, you know, little 3.5 ton lorry. You've gone and brought a saddle that doesn't fit, and you're kind of like going, oh my God. Yes, okay, we all want the best for our horses, but then also, yet again, having that basic of how to ride is the biggest thing you'll ever teach a horse. Because I've watched people going around, and again in Germany, you have to pass certain tests before you can go on to do it. Own a horse or do another lesson. You can't just go and buy a Grand Prix horse and ride in a Grand Prix. No, but it is, and again, it all comes down to money, and that's the sad thing. And it's like, it's not a cheap sport. No. Hence why I don't have my own horse, because my dogs take all my money.
But I think, I'm sure people complain about how much they have to pay a lawyer to do something. But in the end, you know, if a lawyer charges £300 an hour, that's what they charge, and people pay it because they go, oh, but they're a lawyer. It's like, well, okay, so they're a lawyer, so they went to law school and they have then gained experience, and now they charge £300 an hour. What makes what we do any less deserving? You know, when you've spent basically you've spent your entire life learning how to do what we do, and it's not something everybody can do, you know, which in the end, I'm glad not everyone can do it, because of course I wouldn't have a job if everybody could do, you know, if everybody could ride, you know, really well, or handle horses really well, or deal with problems or whatever, then, you know, that would put people out of work. But, you know, in the end, you are a professional in an industry, and even, you know, as a groom, I think people don't respect the fact that your wealth of knowledge and your experience and your ability to do what you do, a lot of people can't do it. So actually, you know, why shouldn't you earn a decent wage for doing it?
I think that I'm actually quite shocked that you only charge £16.50.
I've been telling him this for yonks. Because when he said he was going to charge it, not enough.
I know grooms that work at just private livery yards
on £15 an hour, £20 an hour. Oh god,
no, completely. And my partner's
they're not
like
even managers, and they don't have the skill set. These are 20.
My biggest fear is like I have rent to pay, I have a car to pay. You know, I have lovely clients. They all have a basic rate, and I now if I take on a new client, then yes, okay, I will charge them more. But I actually enjoy what I do with those people.
That's what we're talking about.
But the thing is, though, but I'm paying myself more than minimum wage.
Yeah.
I'm taking home what every groom should really be paid.
Yeah.
You know, I cover my tax, my national insurance, and everything like that, and I actually earn more than what I would if I was fully employed by someone, and that was the idea. And if any of my employers are listening, I would put my money up if I knew that they were going to pay me that £20.
But I think this is the hard thing, isn't it? Is I think a lot of people in the equestrian world live in fear of charging, because they go, oh, I can't put my price up because then I won't get the work. And I mean, you might not, but I mean, okay, I mean, I obviously, having changed what I do, and now I have horses in full livery, I don't have the burden of having to fill boxes, pay staff, pay rent, the rest of it. You know, the horses are paid for if they're there, and if they're not there, well, okay, I'm not earning the money from them. But in the end, I go, well, I feel I need to earn and should earn this much per month for training a horse for someone. So that's what I put my charge at. But then I'm in a position now where if they choose not to do that because it's too expensive, well, that's fine. Don't do that.
I totally agree with both of you. I know I'm not charging enough, but then I'm going to say this. I'm just starting out as a freelance person, so you're kind of getting your name out there. I have got some fantastic clients, and I dreaded putting my prices up because I've only just put them up again because minimum wage has gone up. And I was dreading it, and no one complained. Actually, but the thing is, though, one client turned around and said to me,
no one's going to complain.
No, but it's not that. And I know that. But one client turned around and said to me, well, I was actually going to talk to you that you do need to actually put your prices up. And I'm like, oh, fantastic. But no one should have that fear of, oh, I can't put my prices up because they won't employ me.
Yeah, but it's where, like you were saying, I mean, I think it's a really good idea, the fact that of having some kind of an outline of what people should, you know, if an employer chooses to pay people more, well, that's up to them, but what should be a basic rate?
Yeah.
It would be a lot easier for everybody, because, of course, from the employer's point of view, they know, okay, well, if I'm going to employ a groom of this amount of experience, this is about what I'm going to expect to pay them.
Completely,
And also for someone, you know, doing the job, you kind of know what you should be charging, because it's really hard, and it's a really hard subject, you know, talking to people. I mean, I even had a trainer who, you know, she's ridden for years, run a livery yard, does more teaching now, and I was at the same venue as her doing some lessons. And she said, oh, I've just had this one cancel and they literally cancelled on the day that they'd cancelled because their lorry wouldn't start or whatever it is, and they said, oh, you know, I don't know, do you think I should charge them? And I said, well, yes. In the end, that's not your fault. You are here, you are ready to do that lesson on time, you know. Why should you take the fall because their lorry didn't start? It's not your fault.
It's the same with any industry, though. It's like if you cancel, a lot
of things. If you cancel, you get charged.
She was meant to go to the groomers Friday, but because she hoped she was spayed the other day, I had to. She's got no belly hair to clip, so I cancelled. But I went into the groomers and I said, can I postpone her appointment? I did that. Monday. She wasn't due until Friday, but I went up to them and I said, do I owe you anything? Because I changed the plans, not them. And when I put my prices up, I put a note saying, from now on, if you cancel a week out, you will be charged 50% of the price that I would have charged you. If you cancel within the week, you get get charged full price.
Which is only fair, because I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I suppose that's the difficulty if you're freelance, is there is always that risk of them going, oh, actually, we've got, I don't know, a couple of horses have gone home, or they don't quite need you, so then they just go, oh, we don't need you today.
Yeah, which has happened to me.
Yeah, and then of course you're there going, well, I've planned my week, this is what I think I'm going to be earning, and then all of a sudden you're not, and that's not fair.
Well, it's not even just about the time of when you should have been working, is it? It's also about the time of organising everything you've done before you even start that job, the liaising backwards and forwards and the organisation. Yeah, I mean, there are riders now that do even charge like an admin fee, because and actually, admin is a lot of running a yard, which I think people don't realise. I mean, the hours that you can spend doing entries, organising vets, farriers, physios. I mean, there's saddlers, and then spending the time with them, going through things, if you've got any concerns, if you need to hold horses, if you need to do whatever, it's a lot of time that people don't even think about.
Oh God, completely.
But in the end, it is still, it's still part of the job. So there kind of needs to be a charge somewhere. But it's a horrible subject, and it does also have to balance with the fact that we are all very fortunate. We are doing something that we love doing, and we are passionate about the horses. And there's always been the thing. I mean, I've always said I'd rather earn less money doing something I love than earning a fortune doing a job that I hate, because you spend a lot of your life working, and if you're doing a job that you hate, is it worth it really? Just for the money? Not really. But it's still, I think the horse world in general is a bit stuck in the Stone Ages when it comes to.
But then that's going back to that whole thing of you should be privileged to work for me. Those days are over. Yeah. I'm sorry to say this to anyone that's an employer now. Yeah. It's not about you, it's about the grooms now. It's about the employees. And there are places now, which I still think there are so many places you can go. There's so many places that the industry should go, not just, there should be protocols in place that anyone that does employ someone, there should be a basic rate. Doesn't matter what your experience is, that is what you do. And you provide accommodation, fantastic, because rent's bloody expensive wherever you go. But you should also that should be a minimum of however much it is per month taken off the rent.
Yeah, I mean, gone are the days where there's so many people over I know when I was a working pupil, I was paid like pittance. But it was, we give you somewhere to live, and you've got your horse here and all the rest of it. I mean, if you added all of that up in real terms, I still wasn't being paid anywhere near what I should have been paid.
No, exactly.
But it was kind of that they got away with it. It's not like that anymore, and it's and I think people are a bit more savvy and switched on. But I can completely understand why there are people who, they love horses, but they get sick of it, and they think, well, I'd rather just go and work in Tesco's for more money.
Lidl pays 14 quid an hour.
Yeah, exactly. And in the end, you do shifts, what's what. You can have your horse still, but you just don't, And that's the sad thing, because it just feels as though then the industry is going to be a bit lost. And I mean, like I feel a bit as though with what I've done with having, my horses who, they may be owned horses, but I have them in a livery yard. I'm supporting the livery yard, so the livery yard can keep going, and whatever their charge is what their charge is, and if that's what I need to pay to have the service and facilities I need, that's what I'll pay. And then and yes, that is passed on to the owners, and then I charge what I need to charge to ride the horses. And I think in the end you're keeping another thing going, because you're keeping a livery yard going and their staff and their set up
completely,
and as a rider. But in the end, I only went down that road. It was because of when you were working for the German rider who had her horses in full livery for a time.
Oh God, yeah.
And I thought, well, actually, why can't I do that?
And it is, but that was that was like, I don't know how I stayed there. As like the people that I worked for, the most loveliest people, they are lovely, but that whole situation where they were, it was a massive place. Such a shame, because it could have been like one of the best facilities in the world, in the country. The woman that owns it's batshit crazy. The place is run down. She spent millions on it, and it's just gone to pot. But that was yet again, her staff were, one of them was paid too well for the amount of work she did, but yet again she had the knowledge, and she taught me things, and I'd be entirely grateful, but I would never work with her again, because there was no teamwork. I was the person that was employed by one of the clients to do the job, like do the finishing touches to the job. Actually, I ended up doing more than I should have done. The only thing I didn't do was muck out 9 horses, but I still turned out 9 horses, brought 9 horses in, tacked up, clean tack, washing, and had very high standards. And yet again, my partner was going, you're working over your contracted hours, but they don't know what the hours are. They still need to be done. But he was like, yeah, but she's paying very good money to be there. And I'm like, yes, I know, but they won't do my horses for me. And there are livery yards where, and I don't know if it's just because it's the industry, but there are people that don't get on with people, which is completely fine. But then you're all in the same boat. You still want the best for your horses, but without clients, livery yards won't run. Without livery yards, people don't have places. So they're both in the same spot, and they're both in the same situation, but you've got to kind of like go, come on guys, like let's all pull together, like, you know, let's all work together, let's do the best for the animals. It's not about us, it's about them.
Well, it's about the sport as well, right? If we are a small niche, as we've discussed previously, we are a small niche sport, really, in the grand scheme of things. And we need to start pulling together and looking after each other, otherwise we are going to run into a risk of losing our sport. And it's not going to be because we're losing horses or even the welfare is concerned, it's going to because we haven't got staff.
Well, I mean, I know several riders, I mean friends of mine, who say, I'm sick of doing this because I can't get staff, and no one ever stays, and they don't do, you know, I don't know, you know, why is that? You know, is it just because they're not paid enough? Is it because the riders don't charge enough to pay them enough? Do they not treat them well enough? You know, I don't know why that is, but in the end, you know, I think there's multiple reasons why people don't stay in horses and don't keep working with them, and you know, but I think fundamentally, if it isn't, if something isn't done about it, everything, it will just die out, you know.
I am going to say this. I don't think there is going to be a sport eventually. The horses won't be. There is no staff. Like I'm very lucky because I am the person that everyone rings to cover people, but there's only me. I put numbers forward to people that I trust to do the job, but because people don't know anyone and they don't want to take that step, they won't ring them, and I can't. That's all I can do. I can give. If I don't trust a person, I will never give that person's number out, because at the end of the day, it's my reputation on the line. But also, you've also got to. If people didn't take the chance on me, I wouldn't be doing
where you are now.
Exactly.
Everyone needs a chance. Everyone needs
and I think there are people that aren't designed for the job and they aren't great for the job. But then also, if you don't give them the chance, if you turn around and said to someone, right, I'm going to give you a week's trial, give them a week's trial, pay them to do that week's trial. Get them out there, get them going. But the thing is that you might spot something. There have been people that turned up on our yard and I'm like, Jesus Christ, what are they doing here? Then I spot something going, actually, do you know what? You could be fantastic. Right. You could be one of the best grooms in the country. But then do you not think as well there is a bit of a problem with, because obviously, you know, a lot of yards are
they have a lot of horses, they probably don't quite have enough staff, everybody's busy, and then the young grooms don't actually get given the time, so they don't get shown how to do things properly and how to do things in a better way, how to be more time efficient, and if they're, if that person is the sort of person that can manage to sort of follow the older grooms and realise what you need to do, then great. But if they're, I think a lot of young people don't get given the education that they need, and then they kind of lose their love for it because they think, well, I can't do the job very well.
Absolutely. I mean, fundamentally, we're talking about the fact there is a lack of appreciation for the skill sets that professionals have, whether that's groom or any professional. There's a fundamental lack of wanting to pay appropriate fees for those skill sets. Add on to that, even the top trainers in this country have to go work in America and abroad just to earn their money in a year. I mean, there's trainers I know that unless they go and visit America 3 times a year, they can't make ends meet in this country. They can't charge enough. They have to go and subsidise it with teaching abroad. So, what can we do to make people kind of realise that yes, it's an expensive sport. Looking after a 500 kilo animal,
it's expensive.
It's expensive.
And unfortunately, and I think the sad thing is, I think there are people that do have to just accept that maybe they just can't afford to do it. And if you can't afford to do it, then you can't afford to do it.
I mean, and maybe that's the difference. I mean, we've got riding schools shutting down all over the country because they can't afford to keep going because they haven't got enough people to actually, keep the horses in the right amount of work and working as hard as they need to make ends meet. Add on to the fact that we've got councils upping business rates left, right and centre on livery. I mean, that's the biggest cause of livery yards closing down in this country.
Well, and also, I mean, obviously in our area, in Essex, there's so much development. I mean, so many show centres have been lost and livery yards have been lost because there's already buildings there and people sell them off for housing. And that's what happens. So you get, even fewer and fewer yards. But I think there is a lot of there's a lot of aspects to it. It's a whole big, there's a lot going on.
It's a bit of a mess.
It is a bit of a mess. It's a bit of a mess.
Yeah, and I do go back to that whole thing of, you go back to the Europe in Germany. They have the livery yards. Yeah, they may not be the most beautiful yards, and this is the hard thing. I work for so many people. It's not Instagram. It's not Instagram. Not every yard's Instagram. You can't. And that's the thing. Is like, at the end of the day, I was always told it doesn't matter what you turn up in. It's what comes off it.
Yeah. Well, but I think fundamentally that's the thing, isn't it? Is actually, I mean, I've known people that have yards that are immaculate all of the time and all the bells and whistles, and then people whose yards, I mean, like if they ever saw a yard brush like to sweep up, it would be, I don't even own one. They're messy, but if you look at the horses, they're healthy, they're happy, they enjoy their work, they're really well looked after. It's just scruffy, but in the end, does that really matter?
No.
No. I mean, they're as happy as the horses in the fancy, because the horses don't care. They don't care if they walk out of the yard and there's not a blade of straw on it, or if they walk out of the yard and it's like...
And that's where my brain would be like going, oh my God, I need to clean. But at the end of the day... That's me, but at the end of the day, animal welfare comes first. If the horse is happy, and this is the hard thing. It's like, we all want the perfect life. We all want what everyone else got. And this, I don't know if you've done this yet or you will do this, but I don't go on into Instagram, I don't go onto Facebook to be like, oh, that person's got that, person's got that. Do you know what? I go on Instagram and Facebook to look at what people are doing and appreciate what they're doing, and I can I'm not envious because I have the life I want to lead. I go on there to be like, oh my God, that's amazing for that person. Oh my God, I didn't realise they did that. And I think you can get swept up into a false sense of reality when it comes to places like that. You look at some of the yards in Europe, yes, they are stunning, but then you also go to other yards and they're absolute dives.
Yeah.
But horses are
but I mean, some of the best horses in the world have come out of yards and studs that are really not the nicest to look at. But they're some of the best horses in the world, you know. And
because they have to fight.
There's plenty of very flash yards that have quite a lot of mediocre horses in them.
Oh God, yeah. Oh yeah, completely. Yeah. It does take a team to look after a horse. It's not just one person. You know, like you, as we've discussed, the trainer. You have the physios. You have the saddlers. You have the vets. You have the dentist. You have grooms. The grooms are the heart and the soul of everything. Because without a groom, you can't do the job. And London Horse Show, I'm going to say this because they deserve a bit of credit. When I did London last year and the year before, they were fantastic. We got a goodie bag, which is amazing because like you don't always get that at every show. And I think their sponsors were very generous in that sense. We get given vouchers for food because we're in the middle of London, we're at a show centre. We don't go off walking around London. No. We don't get time.
Especially in that area of London.
Yeah, you are stuck on the showground. You know, but a little bit of recognition also. I think it would be nice if you went to a show, and yes, it's great to see the rider, but it would be quite nice for the shows to be like, and thank you to the grooms, as they're commentating for turning the horses out.
Yeah.
Because, and like, there are riders out there that don't have grooms all the time, but...
And with the dressage shows, do they do like the best turned out?
No, they don't, sadly.
I mean, with the event horses...
do they do that with eventing?
Yeah, so, I mean, often the top events, you know, like Badminton Belt, I mean, obviously in the racing, it's a big thing.
Oh, that's good money.
Best turned out is a prize, you know. So you're giving the groom the incentive to turn that horse out well.
Well, I think that racing is probably the biggest sport in the equestrian world that actually understands that without the grooms, the industry doesn't exist.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you go like trainers can't gallop horses.
Treated very well in racing, and so far better than they are.
Maybe I should go back to it.
Well, you know,
I don't think you'd make the weight now. I'm sorry.
It's because I don't.
I certainly wouldn't.
Well, insult.
Yeah, it's like, to be fair, if I was riding every day, I mostly would make the weights. But to be fair, actually, you don't have to be skinny to do racing. You don't like. There's people that have been a hell of a lot heavier than me that have been riding racehorses. And actually, you should know it's not about how heavy you are; it's how light you are.
Yeah, it's
how light you sit.
You ride.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's a whole other conversation.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's a bit of appreciation from the shows, and riders do appreciate you, because I know they do, because the people I work for do, because they always say thank you.
Yeah.
And so it does take
really,
an army.
we need a little campaign for the
best turned out
at the big dressage shows and the show jumping.
And I think actually even at like, maybe not like a one-day show, but internationals. I think
if it's a CDI show or something, you know, Premier League shows, things like that, they could do a best turned out prize, couldn't they?
Absolutely, and I think for me, that's kind of what this role of our podcast is doing. Is it's shining the light on frustrations and worries that we have within our sport. And to bring that to the forefront, so that maybe people can think, well, hang on, if we want to hold on to this sport, we need to make and actually, for the good or the bad of whatever goes on in whichever sport within the industry or within the whole world, the equine world, racing, when it comes to its staffing, is leading the game.
Yeah, they are leading. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, but then in the end, that does also come down to the fact there's so much more money in it.
Oh, hang on though.
So,
hang on.
You know.
No. I agree with you in that sense, but when you look at what some of these dressage horses cost, you cannot buy a grade A show jumper for less than £1 million. You can buy racehorses that for 200,000, 100,000, they go and win a Grand National, they win a Gold Cup. There is money in the sport. And this is the thing, is like show jumping, there's more prize money than dressage. the money is in there. They've just got to filter it down to the people, and this is where the riders are going to start charging.
So really,
more.
I mean, in the end, it's like having, but it's things like this is little ideas that wouldn't be that hard to implement. You know,
I don't think.
I mean, even little things of like you say, a best turned out prize for a groom, or as part of an entry fee that is made, a small percentage of that gets split between the grooms for a food allowance or or whatever it might be, just something that then gives the grooms a little bit of a boost, I mean, obviously with the racing they have like the pool money and things, don't they?
So you get pool money in racing, which I can't remember what the percentage is, something like 3% of the prize money. I can't remember what the
year, but
it's every quarter.
But it's across all of the horses.
It doesn't matter who looks after it. You get it. The trainers get a percent, the jockey gets it, the ballet gets everything. But actually, do you know what? When you were struggling for money, if you tried your hardest to win best turnout, because some of the best turnout money was £150. And if you're doing 3 horses a day at best turnout, that's a lot of money for someone. And it is, I think, and
like it's an incentive to learn how to plat well, isn't it?
And you also, when you go racing, you do get money for food. They send you, even if they don't pay you there and then, it gets put onto your wages at the end of it all. So you do get a food allowance.
But it's little things like that, isn't it? So I think, but then this is where probably if all of the different disciplines sort of look at each other and go, oh well, actually they do that, and that's actually quite a nice thing to do, quite a good idea, we could implement that.
Absolutely.
And they look back at so it's kind of looking at, it's very easy, I think, for the disciplines to become quite separate and be kind of, well, we do this is what we do in show jumping, this is what we do in dressage, this is what we do in eventing, this is what we do in racing. And actually if they kind of try and look at what everyone else is doing and go, okay, well, maybe we could do this, maybe we could do that,
completely.
But I think getting, in the end, it is hard work, and there are elements of working with horses that is a really good quality of life, and there are elements that are not so much. When you're walking through the mud in driving rain and sleet and snow and all the rest of it,
that's why I do dressage.
There's probably a lot that could, little things that could be changed, that could improve.
Completely agree with you on that one.
Certain sports or disciplines, are already setting the precedent of how we can put that into place. So that's actually really nice to know.
It is possible.
Okay, that's really good. I've learnt loads.
Well, I'm glad you've learned something, because so have I. I think there is a long way to go for the sport to be where it should be. And coming from a groom's perspective, there's a lot of grooms out there that are so underestimated for their ability, and I watch them and I'm going, you deserve better. And I hope one day that the employers will understand that. And
I hope that as well that whether you are an owner or a rider or whoever, acknowledge the grooms a bit more. I mean, I've always been very lucky. I mean, as a rule, all my owners have all been very good at acknowledging my grooms, whether they're the head groom or whether they're just a part-timer that is there now and again, and thanking them for looking after their horse so well, or turning up with a box of biscuits, things like that. It doesn't take a lot, but it's just a little bit of a thank you for the fact that you're working really hard, and I think appreciation goes a long way. So
and that's actually appreciation. Like, the thing is, when you're in racing, your owners come and watch the horses gallop, and they get to know their grooms. They get to know the people that look after them, and I've had some fantastic owners that have given me very nice Christmas bonuses, like Christmas presents and things like that. And to be fair, most of my clients have, like when I work for them, all employees have been very lucky. They've given me fantastic presents. And I appreciate, they don't have to, it's just the appreciation that I'm doing my job is all I ask for, but that is also a bonus for me because it's what I've been given as presents or bonuses and things like that have saved me money that I haven't had to go and buy it myself. And I understand that not everyone can do that.
No.
But it's nice for them to be like, oh, do you know what? Let's take you out for dinner, or I'll buy you breakfast.
Yeah.
You know, spend a bit of time with them. Like people, I bet you some people don't even know half their grooms' lives. You know what goes on with them.
Exactly. You know, I mean, and that's the thing. But that's just, you know, and I think even, you know, I would always, you know, when we're going to shows, especially if it's an early start or whatever, whether it was we stopped at the garage to fill up the lorry and I'll get them some breakfast there and a coffee and what have you, or when we get to the show, it's like, you know, I'd often go off and walk the cross country and I'd come back armed with, you know, a bacon roll and a coffee and be like, you know, at least A, you know, your groom's eating something, and B, you know, they're not going to have time for that. You know, they're not going to have time to walk down the hill and get, you know, so you know, it's just things like that. It goes a long way.
We had a very, very, very wealthy owner. She put a tantrum at me one day and I just completely ignored it. But we went to a competition one day and it was roasting hot. We were all sweating. She walks up with us with an ice cream. Didn't even bother to ask us, and we were like, cheers, thanks. You know, that's really that's your mentality. But it's the only person I've ever never offered me to buy me a drink or anything like that at a show. And like, don't get me wrong, yeah, you could take full advantage of some of the people, but why? Because that's the other thing, is like sometimes people take too much advantage and it just ruins it for everyone else. There's a happy medium, and I understand, like as an employee, you saying, Izzy, you know, like her horse was part of the yard. That is the way it should be. It's not. Absolutely. They are doing a job. I have no problems with people riding, mucking out, doing whatever they want when they're on the yard with their horses. Just don't take 2 hours doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but no. Any other questions?
I don't think so. Have we covered everything? Are we happy with everything? We should just say thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for having me. Actually, I quite enjoyed this.
Yay!
I was going to, but I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I actually quite enjoyed it, and I'd love to come back again.